time to see what rolled in this week. This is called Tester, but I don't remember what I ordered, so I'm skeptical. Oh, another matrix display, and this one has a green dot on it. Ever since my ultimate disappointment that the one that was described blue is actually red, I went on a buying spree, and I am waiting for green, blue, and red to show up now, hoping at least some of them will be as advertised. Is this a green one? Let's hook it up. If this one's going to be red as well, it looks like I have an extra wide red display, so it doesn't really matter, but let's see. So it comes with some cables, an extra header. Otherwise, it looks to have the same pins, so let's just swap it out. Whoa, there's some kind of evil going on here. So this is the board with the red LEDs, and this is the green one. Clearly it's a different circuit layout, so this must be where the MAX7219 library has a configurable option based on which style of matrix display you have. Apparently this green one is different from the red. So I'm going to have to play around with that and get it up and running. And it looks like we are up and running. So I guess this is an FC16 module and this is an IC station configured module. MAX7219 Green LED Matrix MCU Control LED Display Module for Arduino Raspberry Pi. The seller is VRG5612, but this is not the listing I had. I bought a lot of things like this lately at auction, and this took 3 weeks to get here, and I paid $5.74 Canadian total. Some of these listings have a shipping cost and some have $0 shipping, so I factored all that in when deciding how much to bid. So I tried to read the descriptions a lot more carefully, and some of the sellers have very explicit words like green light or blue light or red light. If it just talks about the fact that it's got this chip and it's a display and it doesn't really say anything about the color, I will assume it's going to be red even if they say blue. It seems that sometimes when they add a word in the description like blue, they are loosely saying it's a blue circuit board, but you would think it's a blue light. Otherwise, this board has 4 8x8 LED matrix displays. It's a 5-volt display, uses SPI to communicate, and I've been using this as a scrolling text display. You can chain these together, plugging end to end, and tell the sketch how many of these you have, and it will automatically adjust and make sure the text or graphics go all the way along. And here we have an expansion board module. This appears to be a reasonable description of it. So what is it? Looks like we have more headers than we need. Oh, this looks like an Arduino of some kind. So this is a Pro Micro, and it has an ATmega32U4. I am pretty sure that alone is the reason I wanted this, because this chip itself handles the USB, and I wanted this board for any projects where I might want a human input device, so this should do nicely. So does this mean it can be a 5 or 3.3 volt device and they forgot to tell me what it is? New Pro Micro ATmega32U4 5 volts 16 MHz Replace ATmega328 Pro Mini for Arduino. I paid $376 from CZB 672-1960 and I waited 4 weeks to receive it. So I wanted this 32U4 USB interface so I can make mouse, keyboard, etc. And to have more diversity with what Arduino stuff I can do in smaller form factors on a breadboard, or if I need to commit one to a project, I just grab one of these small ones and hook it up. This is labeled screwdriver, so I'm not sure. Oh, I know what that is. That's for NES. These are 2 security bits to open NES game cartridges and other such things. And this is one of those tri-wing screwdrivers. If I'm not mistaken, that should be the same size to take apart a MacBook in terms of getting that battery removed. So I ordered this back when I was trying to figure out why my trackpad was bulging out of the case. and why the case itself was bulging apart, but I ended up finding a triwing bit in another set. I already have a set of this I ordered long ago, years ago, because I wanted the Nintendo bits, but I can't even find those. So for a couple of dollars, now I have it again. So these bits are supposed to fit Nintendo type security screws on game cartridges, etc. And that tri-wing screwdriver should do MacBook batteries, hopefully. I still need to decide if I'm going to buy one of those aftermarket batteries for the Mac. If so, I will find out if this screwdriver works. 3.8 plus 4.5 plus tri-wing security screwdriver bit set for Nintendo NES, SNES, and 64 game. $2.23 from Cool Man Love It 2015. So for a couple of dollars, I definitely have a use for these items. It took 6.5 weeks to get here, but now I've got it for the next time I need it. This is called panel, but it's a bit lightweight to be one of these, so I don't know what it is, but I cut into the foam. Solar panels, little ones. So these, I ordered in the past a smaller size, similar to this, I think. I just wanted a couple of different solar cells to have around just for random little things, but I thought maybe something like this would be useful for maybe a solar tracking system experiment or a solar related robot project. Just something different to have around if I'm looking for a new project someday. 0A59 solar cell DIY durable polysilicon solar light solar charging DIY toy. $1.68 from In My Eyes 20. Sounds like an 80s song or something. And this is coming from Singapore, and I bought 2 of these. It took 8 weeks to get here. So this says 5 volts, 60 milliamp, 0.3 watts. And they are advertising it for things like outdoor solar garden lighting systems. For a couple of dollars, why not throw it in the parts bin and try to figure out a good use for it later? This is supposedly test equipment. So, oh, it looks like a kit. I did order a couple of things like function generators, and I'm also waiting for an ultra cheap priced multimeter, not a kit, but an actual meter. I'm trying to order a bunch of low-cost things that could be used as test equipment just to see what we can do with low-cost equipment, like using a little buck or boost regulator instead of a big bench power supply, using those low-cost oscilloscopes with the LCD display, and these kind of function generators. Can we get started setting up a lab on a budget? So this is based on the XR2206. It's a function generator kit. I don't know if these are selections or output terminals for triangle and sine. Is this a square wave output? Amplitude, fine, coarse. So that's a nice through-hole kit that looks easy to assemble. Has a labeled acrylic case, looks like. Instructions, I assume. So parts placement, bill of materials, schematic, debugging steps, usage steps, mounting hardware for the case, and some of the various components. But I don't know how this IC landed on its own outside of here. It's like they forgot to put it in foam, but at least it still has pins, so hopefully it'll still work. XR2206 DDS Function Signal Generator DIY Kit, sine, triangle, square wave, 1 Hz to 1 MHz. $6.57 Canadian from Pot G Parts. Only took 2.5 weeks to get here. So this is a kit with an enclosure, all through hole, looks easy to assemble, runs on 9 to 12 volts, gives you those 3 waveforms at 1 Hz to 1 MHz. And each of these waveforms are different specifications. So the sine wave can go 0 to 3 volts if you give 9 volts in. The square wave gives you 8 volts, no load at 9 volts in. So what does that mean? Depending what you plug this into, it might not be 8 volts. It'll load it down. And the triangle gives 0 to 3 volts with a 9 volt input. And I believe there are some issues with this chip. Maybe these are knockoff chips. I'll have to visit that when looking at this once it's assembled and see what the issues are. I believe this has trouble meeting some of its specs under certain conditions. So that's partly why I wanted to get this, to just investigate how it does perform and if it lives up to its expectations, but also if I can get it to work, even if it doesn't meet all the specs, as long as it's working somewhat and we characterize it and we know what we can expect out of it. For this price, having a little simple signal generator, it may still be worth having, even knowing it has some issues. Well, all right, that's a nice collection of stuff. We have a green dot matrix display, some more security screwdrivers and bits, Arduino Pro Micro, a couple of solar cells, and a function generator kit. So that'll give me something to do to put together and to test out and see how it compares for a low budget breadboarding sort of environment. Well, thanks for stopping in and checking out the newest additions to all the parts and kits. Thanks to my Patreon supporters who help me keep buying all this stuff and keeping me busy with all these projects. It looks like there's going to be a lot of projects coming up. I really want to see a blue matrix display arrive though. But in the meantime, keep checking back to see what I end up doing with all this. And if you have any ideas, suggestions of what I can do with this stuff, comment below. And if you've used any of these things like this function generator kit and you have any tips or gotchas, mention that below as well. I've never worked with this, so I'm going to be learning as I go.